Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman, and constantly in Christianity, you hear about ideas of imitating Christ. And I even seen a sermon here on YouTube of how Pope Benedict giving a sermon how we should imitate Paul imitating Christ. And I read something when I was going through the Republic, Book 10. It was Socrates and Glaucon talking about imitations. And when I started reading the tripartite tractate here in the Gnostic text, it talks about the offspring of the presumptuous thought, and the idea of imitations being illusions. So you say, wait a minute, what do you mean? Well, let's see what Plato wrote about, what Socrates has to say about it. And you can find a discussion in Book 10 of the Republic. So I'm going to read a section of that now. This is Socrates talking. Then the imitator, I said, is a long way off the truth, and can do all things because he lightly touches on a small part of them, in that part of an image. For example, a painter will paint a cobbler, a carpenter, or any other artist, though he knows nothing of their arts. And if he is a good artist, he may deceive children or simple persons when he shows them his picture of a carpenter from a distance, and they will fancy that they are looking at a real carpenter. Certainly. And whenever anyone informs us that he has found a man who knows all the arts and all things else that anybody knows, and every single thing with a higher degree of accuracy than any other man, whosoever tells us this, I think we can only imagine to be a simple creature who is likely to have been deceived by some wizard or actor whom he met, and whom he thought all-knowing, because he himself was unable to analyze the nature of knowledge and the ignorance and imitation. Most true. And so, when we hear a person saying that the tragedies and Homer, who is at their head, know all the arts and all things human, virtue as well as vice, and divine things too, for that the good poet cannot compose well unless he knows his subject, and that he who has not this knowledge can never be a poet, we ought to consider whether here also there may not be a similar illusion. Perhaps they may have come across imitators and been deceived by them. They may not have remembered when they saw their works that these were but imitations thrice removed from the truth, and could not easily be made without any knowledge of truth, because they are appearances only, and not reality. Or, after all, they might be in the right, and poets do really know the things about which they seem to the many to speak so well. The question, he said, should by all means be considered. Now, how do you suppose that if a person were able to make an original, as well as the image, would he seriously devote himself to the image-making branch? Would he allow imitation to be the ruling principle in his life, as if he had nothing higher in him? I should say not, says Glaucon. The real artist, who knew what he was imitating, would be interested in realities, not in imitations. So we'll stop there, because I want to move on to this section. So friends, if Christ embodies these virtues of love, why not cultivate the virtues? Why would we go to a lesser form and, as if it were in a mirror, have an imitation or try to imitate something when we can cultivate the real thing to its highest form in real life? So let's move on to the Gnostic text in the tripartite tractate. Hopefully I'm saying this right. The offspring of the presumptuous thought. Those who came into being from the presumptuous thought resemble in fact the fullness of whom they are imitations, though they are phantoms, shadows, and illusions, deprived of reason and light, belonging to this empty thought, being nobody's offspring. For this reason also, their end will be like their beginning. Coming from that which was not, they will return to that which will not be. In their own eyes, however, they are great and powerful beings, more beautiful than the names that adorn them, though they are only their shadows, made beautiful by the way of imitation. For the beauty one sees in an image derives from what the image represents. So, a lot of times, friends, by imitating heroes and by imitating other people, instead of cultivating the virtues of those people in our lives, we might be missing something. And we too can be creators of worlds. All you need to do, as Plato says, take a mirror and spin it around. And for an instant, in behind you, you will create trees and everything that that mirror is able to capture. Some people in Christianity would say, you have to mirror Christ. And the more you're like Christ, the more you become like Christ. And then we have conflicts within our nature that pull us to and fro and divide our minds and keep us from being reasonable. But why not instead cultivate virtue and justice and follow some kind of law, maybe? Judaism is one system that has a law code that helps them to do that. And there is a text in Micah that has 3 virtues that they would follow. Let me think here. For he has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. So, the divine in Judaism, as an example, does not tell people to imitate Moses, say, or other heroes, but rather to do justice, love mercy, and follow the Torah. So through that, you cultivate these virtues. Same thing in other belief systems. Same thing that Lycurgus set up with the Spartans and Solon and Afton. These lawgivers did not want people imitating them, which would be something of an illusion, but rather to cultivate the virtues. And even Buddhism is set up like this. He said, if you see the Buddha walking on the street, then kill him. Because imitations are far removed and are far less of value than the real thing. So take care, friends, and don't let imitations run your life. Culture the virtues. So be well, and remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking